Hello, career thought leaders. Good to see you here today. And we are going to be talking about one of the secrets that your clients may overlook, and maybe we overlook or assume that is key to them really being happy and successful in their work. So, what is this secret, and how can we help people uncover it? And why do we care? So, one of the things that we're seeing with leadership is that leadership really requires more empathy today, and leaders who don't have empathy are drugged through the they're drugged through the mud publicly, right? The CEO that fired everyone via Zoom and it's recorded and everything's on video. Leaders have to be more aware. They also have to be more visible, with which this little trick will help them with. And if they're not, and this is leaders at all levels, CEOs are getting drugged through the mud for it and have to be more aware. But every leader is being called to be more empathetic, to be more effective right now. So, how can they do that? Then we know people are being called to be more authentic. And authentic can kind of feel like one of those words everybody overuses, and what does it really mean? But there's actually some research that shows the more of our authentic selves we bring to work, the more we feel comfortable being ourselves at work, the more successful we'll be. And this isn't surprising. And of course, there's a point at which it doesn't work anymore. But the idea that you can be successful being you is so powerful, that you can be successful being you. And I'll never forget this when I was teaching a leadership class. I was part of the coaching team for a leadership class at a municipality. And at the end, everyone had to give a presentation about what they learned in the program. And one of the gentlemen was a graphic designer, and he created digital caricatures of each of his classmates based on what he had learned from them about them during the class. And the whole thesis of his presentation was that he had learned that he would be more successful if he was him at work, and that he'd gotten the opportunity to meet and really learn about all these other people and wanted to encourage them that they would also be more successful if they were authentic at work. It's not rocket science, but we oftentimes don't think about it. Or sometimes we think the opposite, right? That we have to cover, we have to be different, we have to not show ourselves at work. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's true. But when we're in an organization and when we're in a place where we're really going to thrive, we are going to do so being ourselves. And but some of you don't know me very well. Maybe you haven't heard my kind of origin story. But I started in as a career coach, of course. And when I first started working, I was working for someone else. So I was a contractor with another career coach. And I was young. I was just getting into this work and had the opportunity to work with her. And I thought I needed to be her to be successful. And she's very extroverted. She was a lot of fun. She was a great trainer. She'd get up in front of people and she was very entertaining. And I tried to do that. And oh my goodness, did it not work, right? It fell flat because it wasn't me. I had several bad reports about me as a trainer, as a teacher, when I was teaching with her, especially because it just was hard to be myself. And it was hard to figure out how that was going to bring value to the participants. And thankfully, I had the opportunity to do a few different things. One was the Certified Personal Branding Strategist program that now Career Thought Leaders teaches. And that's the reason that we teach it, is because I know how powerful it is. It really helped me figure out how I was different. It helped me see that my introversion was something people noticed about me, but then also learn how to make that a superpower for me, because there is superpower in it, right? It's more connective. I really care about all of you on the other side of the screen, and I want to hear where you're joining me from, and I want to build relationships with you. And so that piece of my personality, I found out and got the opportunity to connect with through this program, and then also went to some other training programs, especially one speaker training program with Denise Hedges, where we had to get up and give presentations. And I said, I'm just not entertaining. I'm not blah, blah, blah. And she said, no, but you're you. And you are warm and you are connected, right? And she helped me really own how I present and how I deliver my materials. And that is when you own it and that's how you operate, you're so much more effective. And if you're happier, you have more fun, and you perform better. And if you're in a presentation situation where people are judging your performance, or you're in a work situation where people are judging your performance, when you are aligned with who you are, you're automatically going to come across better and have that more natural ability to connect with people. So if you are watching, tell me where you're joining me from. I love seeing some of you week to week, and thank you so much for joining. So it's just a little bit of a window here into where we're headed. So you've got these pieces that we need to be empathetic. And guess what? You can't be empathetic if you don't have self awareness. You can't love others if you don't love yourself. There's just this foundational piece to this work that we kind of forget about. And I think everybody thinks they're self aware, but you probably know those people who think they're self aware, and you're like, no, they're not. You have those clients that come in that maybe even they're hesitant to do some self awareness work with you, but you know that that would help them be more effective leaders. And I think this is one of the assumptions we make in our work is that leaders, of course, they're self aware. They've gone through so many assessments and so many corporate trainings, but that doesn't mean that they've actually internalized it and had an opportunity to work through what it means and how they want to show up that way, because it does require peeling off some layers, especially for people who've been in the corporate environment for a while and have been trained that it's not okay to be yourself. Hi, good to see you, Michelle. Thanks for joining us from Florida. Love seeing you here. So when we think about who we are, and then we can be empathetic to others, because if we're not connected to our own emotions, it's very hard to see other people's emotions. Then we can think about how do we show up as our authentic self, because when we are able to do that, it's more likely that we're comfortable with other people doing that. When everybody has on the mask and everybody has on the persona, your team's not going to take that off if you don't, as the leader, take it off. And Brene Brown does all her work around vulnerability. It's great work. We can do that in so many different ways with our clients. And vulnerability looks different for different people. And it's very helpful for them to figure out how that fits for them in their work environment and all of the pieces that come together. So those are the first two things. Then the third one is this agility piece. We talk about it a lot. Our colleague Alexandra Levitt calls it durability for your career to go on longitudinally, or agility to move from one thing to the next. And the key is knowing yourself and also knowing how you add value so that you can kind of pick that up and port it around, because you are going to have to. There's no ladder, there's no right. Michelle and I talk about the jungle gym of your career. You are going to have to figure out how to package your best stuff as you move to the next thing, as technology shifts, as jobs shift. And that's your agility. It's really the confidence, the knowledge, the self knowledge, and the network, which I see you, Jackie. So, Jackie and I are just talking about a new class we're going to design, kind of specifically talking about exuding your brand. And part of exuding your brand is understanding who your network is and how you're connected. I don't know where this idea originally came from. Maybe one of you can tell me, or I'll have to look it up. But that idea that we are becoming more like the five people we hang out with the most. And I first heard it from Rich Feller, my master's professor, but I don't think it came from him. But this idea that the people that you surround yourself with are the people that you're networking with. And this is rando reference, but we have been watching. It's called In Plain Sight. It's a great older show where the U.S. Marshals get people and put them in WITSEC. And my husband was laughing. Well, actually, he was telling me that the recidivism in WITSEC is about 30%. Well, the recidivism in the general population, people that commit a crime after they get released from jail, is really high in the 80s. And so he kind of joked that, well, maybe we should put people in WITSEC because, I mean, that's a huge difference, right? But this is the power of our network and the people that you hang out with, that really they can, although we're all our own people, we don't get to blame them for it, but they can kind of bring you up or pull you down. And thinking about our network is key to our agility. And oftentimes we just don't think about that as part of personal branding. But of course, we do in our program because that is such a critical part. And in fact, we start about it in the very beginning when we think about who is your target audience, who needs to know you, because it isn't really who you know today, it's who knows you. And as I said before, this helps our leaders not only not misstep as often if they're self-aware, they're leading with empathy, they're being authentic and therefore allowing their teams to be more authentic at work. But then if they're visible because they're building this community around themselves, and it's not about likes and follows and building visibility in this very hollow way. It's about building that community so that you can have great influences on your life, just like you want everyone else to have great influences on their life. um, yeah, agility connected to your confidence, your network, your skill set, of course. But we know people that have great skills and they still aren't doing as much as they could with them because they don't have that confidence. And I love working with all of you wonderful career services providers because, of course, you are the magic that helps people figure out who they are, but then have the confidence to act on it. And it's just such a beautiful thing. Then the other piece that I wanted to talk about is really our goals. And goals are, they're hard for most people because they don't because we don't achieve them. There's some neuroscience behind it, right? We set a goal, we don't achieve it, we feel disgruntled, and so we decide we're just not going to set goals anymore. And this happens to most people, especially this time of year. You set that New Year's resolution, and now you didn't achieve it, and we're very likely to just go back to what we were doing before. We have the opportunity to talk with people and help them realize that goals are not bricks. They're not something you tie to your foot that drowns you to the bottom of the ocean. That's not a goal. Your goal is clay. And you set this vision, and then you realize that you could make something even better out of it. Or that, oops, that didn't work out. Like, right, your clay pot flopped all over when you put it on the spinning wheel. And now you've got to sit down and reform it. And that to me is the kind of embodiment of resilience because you are going to mess up. I'm going to mess up. Like I had this goal of filling out my planner every day, and then my kids were home most of January. I'm like, okay, it's February 15th, right? We're going to get back on that, get back to the planner and setting those goals because it isn't perfection. It's that we realize we can remold the goal, we can reform it, and that we don't have to know how it's going to happen when we do it. We don't have to know how it's going to look at the end, but having that vision does help. And this is just such a powerful concept to think about. So, ooh, yeah, quality over quantity in your network. Love that. So, part of a person's brand is their goals. What do they want out of life? And how can we help them connect that to their current opportunity? To me, that's the idea of purpose. So, purpose isn't something you go out and find. To me, purpose is something you create every day because you understand how what you're doing today connects you to what you will do next. And you can make that connection if you try. Anybody can make the connection between what you're doing today and what you want to do next because you have an opportunity every single day to either meet someone new, talk to someone that might get you there, learn a skill, practice communication skills, right? No matter what your job is today, you can connect to the purpose in that job if you see how it will help you gain the skills that you need for the next thing. And when we have that longer vision of our career, really just helps put all the pieces together. So let me see here. I've got another comment. Oh, maybe I'm not scrolling. There we go. There we go. Oh, goals as clay is a great metaphor. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. I've got another story around that, but maybe we'll save that for another time. When we think about personal branding, oftentimes people think about the markety, selly part of personal branding, and they think about personal branding as pushy. It's really anything but. And it's why I love the concept when you really get it and you really do it. It's actually about being attractive, being magnetic. Because you think about this, the people that you really want to hang out with, they probably know who they are. They're comfortable in their own skin. They're confident without being arrogant, because we really don't like to hang out with people that are that. But they're they are magnetic because they're them, and all of us love to be around that. And it's not about toxic positivity, right? I don't want to go there, but it's just that we like hanging out with people that are not afraid to be themselves. And that is what we're trying to get our clients to do at work. So we see it in our personal lives, we think about it at work. When you know what you want, you don't have to push for it, because it's clear to everyone that this is what you do, this is how you operate. You can tell stories that are in that theme. You can ask questions. When someone talks about a project, you can bring up the parts that really speak to what you love to do. And when you do that consistently, then you don't have to be pushy. And of course, there's going to be opportunities where you do want to communicate your unique promise of value. And those are going to come across so much more authentic and rooted, and not, flashy, because people have seen the dots that add up to the big picture, because you've been talking that language about yourself. When people seem, like, really? You like to do that? Like, no one should look at our clients and say, oh, you like to manage projects? Okay. And it doesn't feel genuine, because if they know that about themselves and they're doing it every day, then it's obvious. And when they say it, it just like, oh, yeah, we know that about you. That's great. Why don't you take that on for this next project? And that's the power of personal branding, is really understanding at that core, at that foundation, who you are, not assuming that our clients have that self awareness, and then also helping them connect it to their audience. Why will those people that they want to know them care about that? And how can you talk their language to engage them in the conversation? That's really what we want to think about. So I hope that William Aruda has shared this in the wide world, because I'm going to share it with you today. This is the new graphic that what used to be Reach Communications, where the Certified Personal Branding Strategist program started way back in 2001. And now the brand has evolved into Career Blast TV. And this is William and Aura, their new visual of the basic foundation of your personal brand, your passions, superpowers, value, differentiators, purpose, and goals. And Susan and I, we've taken our own little spin on this for the Certified Personal Branding Strategist class, how we will help you uncover and really dig into these areas with your clients. And the differentiators kind of has that network piece hidden in it, because your differentiator is really your the thing that's different about you that matters to your audience. And so we're also going to be diving into deeply, how do you understand that audience so that you can make those connections. And then of course we've got that external perception of us as well, that is part of our brand and that brand foundation. So I'm excited about that. Have some new graphics, some new opportunity to connect the dots for people, and understanding who they are and what they bring to the world. And sometimes these topics can feel a little, oh yeah, I do that with my clients, and that's great. I just say go back and really look at how are you helping them gain self-awareness in those areas, and to make sure that we're not assuming, maybe because of who the client is, the level that they're at, etc., that one, they have that self-awareness, or two, they have the confidence and the language to live that out every day, because that's how they're going to be more happy, successful, fulfilled. That's what everybody's looking for right now, right? They're looking for that meaningful work. And we can help them find that, because really they've got to find, what does meaning mean to me first? And then how can I show up at work in a congruent way to that? Because otherwise, no matter what job I get, I'm not going to find that meaning, because I've got to bring some of the meaning to it from inside of me. So I love talking about this topic. Jackie loves talking about this topic. Um, so I'm glad you all joined me today. Thank you for chiming in. And if you have questions about the Certified Personal Branding Strategist class, please let me know. We are updating our kind of marketing materials to match some of William's new stuff. And the class starts March 3rd. So we look forward to seeing you on that. We also have our Academy Certified Resume Writer class starting next week, where we talk about how do you get some of these pieces into a resume. Always a fun opportunity. And I look forward to seeing you next week, if not before then. Thank you, everyone.